Hello, this week I've been looking into, can you rent an electric car by the hour in Denmark, here where I've moved from the UK, to avoid buying an EV?
Probably doing an illegal maneuver, breaking the law. I talk to myself when I'm in new situations with driving cars. That's something I do.
Is that possible? Is that feasible? Does that work? So I've tried this service here in Aarhus called Tadaa that rents out Renault ZOEs, the first model Renault ZOEs. So let's see how that goes in this video. And I've also been trying two different types of electrically assisted bicycle. So let's cover all that in this video. Electrical efficiency. I think the idea behind this hourly EV rental company is that cars are sat idle and not in use most of the time. So why not kind of share out the time among different users, and then hopefully the car is utilized more, and also you kind of avoid the upfront cost and the maintenance costs and so on of buying a car, keeping a car, when even a personal car is usually sat around 80-90% of the time. So the model here is a fixed fee per 30 minutes. I'm putting the numbers here on the screen now. It's quite affordable, and it includes everything: insurance, roadside assistance, use of the car. So you don't need to pay anything else except this particular fee. You just need a valid driving license, and you sign up through the app. And the next day I was in a car going to get some furniture. We'll see that in a minute. So it's not as cheap as going by bus or other public transport, but it's a heck of a lot cheaper in Denmark than using a taxi. As you can see here, the prices on the side of a common sort of typical taxi are these, and compare that to the prices for the Tadaa scheme. So it's about 30 Danish crowns per half hour. And there's a kind of 199 crown sign-up fee, one-off. I've gone for the subscription where there's no kind of monthly fee. It's zero, no monthly subscription, fixed flat fee, and no other worries. I just walk up, I book the car if it's available, I walk up to it, use it, return it. The one drawback is you've got to return it to exactly where you rented it, but if you can live with that, that's difficult for me at the moment because I'm in the process of moving. I've got like a week overlap where I'm moving from one place to another, and it doesn't suit that because it means the car's kind of one side that I'm not, if you see what I mean. But once I was kind of settled, and as long as the car is close enough to where I'm living, maybe it could replace owning a car to some degree, or certainly it makes it possible at least to consider not owning a car if all you want actually is just to use a car. You don't necessarily want to own a car and have that kind of liability. You just want the service. It is possible, and I haven't seen many services like this around the world. I've never used one in the UK. I know that there are kind of car rental places in a lot of cities in the UK, in Manchester and London. I've seen them, but I'm not sure about pure EVs. That's something a bit different, and it's something that's very distinctive of this Tadaa, and all of their kind of instructions about how to use it. Obviously, I have to tell you about, starting the charger, plugging the cables in, and so on. So yeah, let's see how I got on. It's the first generation Renault ZOE with about the 20 kilowatt hour battery. The car was showing 120 kilometers of range. I'll put the equivalent in miles on the screen. When I went up to it, it was 100% charged. And the idea is you just kind of go up, you check for any defects, and then at the time that you've booked it for, the beginning of your time slot, in my case it unlocked automatically, which is a bit strange, but you can unlock it in the app, and then you just kind of get in and off you go once you've unplugged the cable, and then you just return it within, you give kind of like an estimated time that you're going to use it for, you return it within that. They do encourage you to look around the car for defects. There were a few, and as I found out in the app in a minute, they'd already been reported, but they were just minor kind of like stone chips and little dents and things. But other than that, the car was in reasonably good shape, and it drove quite well, as we'll see in a minute. Yeah, so once you checked in, then it was a question of just getting in the car. And I had to kind of check that the car was clean, and it was kind of, all the mats were dirty with some leaves. So, cue a little bit of sped up OCD on my part. And then after that, we get to some sort of driving and me leaving the car in better shape than I picked it up as well, cleaner. Yeah, so you unplug the car, and then you take the lead with you in this case, because it was an untethered charger, untethered Eon charger here, and it just came out from the post. A bit stiff, but it came out. Yeah, and the steering wheel did height and adjust for height and reach. I'd forgotten about that. It's been a while since I drove a Renault ZOE. Got the windows open because it was very hot. If you hear me sort of panting in this, it's not because I'm about to die. It's just that it's in the high 20s centigrade here. Yeah, and cruise control in Danish seems to be fart pilot. Yeah, so. Now, the car did have inbuilt navigation, I think TomTom, and I was able to switch the language to English. I struggled a bit with the navigation to begin with, but it's a bit like a lot of the other systems. You have to put in kind of like the postcode or the city, and then the street, and then the house number, kind of in that order. And if you know all those things, you can get there, but it's not like a kind of Google-style system. On my drive home, which is not filmed here, I used Waze with my daughter's voice on it because I haven't seen them in a long time. And that worked a lot better because the sat-nav in this car had a problem that it basically didn't read the upcoming instructions early enough. So it was giving me instructions very late because the GPS was reading the car behind the position that it actually was on the road.
Remember to drive on the correct side of the road. I've chosen a kind of late time of night to not have too much bother. Now I can see the speed limit sign too. Woohoo! Double bonus. Right, let's go up to 60. Let's take it out of eco. Kind of nippy, kind of fun. It's been a while since I've been in a Renault ZOE. Got to be aware that the sat nav is extremely slow. Nice and cool in here anyway. Nice pickup actually from low speed in this. Last time I drove a ZOE was on a motorway in bad weather, and the car hadn't been warmed up, so that wasn't ideal. Green. I talk to myself when I'm in new situations with the driving cars. That's something I do, so yeah. How do you turn off the air conditioning? AC off. No? Off. There we go, okay. Car off. Nice to drive an electric car again. First one I've driven in Denmark for a while, since I've moved here. Cool. Let's go get some stuff.
So now, yeah, shopping done, just sort of essentials to get into our new rented place, because there's nothing in it, and certainly I don't have anything here at the moment that wouldn't fit in 2 suitcases when I first arrived. Managed to get some of it in the boot, not the biggest of boots, some of it had to go in the back seat as well, but, you know, much better than carrying it around on foot. And the whole point of this anyway was to have this car for a short time. Didn't really matter what car it was, it mattered that it was electric and zero emissions, you know, zero tailpipe. It was great to have it, and very cheap actually, much cheaper than a taxi, much more convenient than a bicycle, but I'll get to bicycles a bit later in the video. Okay, so now we come to, I've returned to where I picked up the car, and again that is a bit of an odd thing that you've got to return it to exactly where you picked it up. It's convenient in one sense in that you haven't got to think about where to park it, but it's a bit annoying because there's not much flexibility to that. So yeah, there was no damage on it obviously, it was exactly the same condition as I picked it up, although a bit cleaner because I cleaned the mats and other bits I spotted, but yeah, so it was plugged in and it was charging again. It initially said 2 hours to charge, but then it went down to 30 minutes. It was sharing the charger with a Citroen C0 that had turned up while I was away, and it started to make a whining noise, which I think is quite characteristic of the Chameleon charger in the ZOE. But yeah, great, it was all set. It did take a very long time though to check out in the app. I'm not sure exactly why that was. I tried it about 3 or 4 times. I'll wait to see about the bill as to whether, you know, I got billed for that. But even if I did, it only came to 180 crowns, which is about £20 sterling, for 3 hours use of the car. That's pretty good, you know, the 6 half-hour slots. And I got everything I needed to do done, and I didn't have to pay a deposit, and I didn't have to pay, you know, an excess or you know, anything on my card. It's just the setup fee and then this fixed fee per usage. And great, I got access to an electric car. And if it's available close to where people live, so there's enough of them to be close to lots of where people live, so that they can, you know, pick it up and bring it back without too much sort of transit to actually getting to these pick-up and drop-off points. I got a bit of a glimpse really of what the future Tesla Model 3, you know, their kind of robo-taxi or taxi share type thing they keep talking about when they get full self-driving a reality. But this whole thing of basically being able to, you know, rent a car for a short period, which I haven't done before, particularly renting an electric car for a short period, is pretty good actually. I don't think it's a kind of complete, you know, alternative to owning one. But it's pretty good, it's pretty close actually, and very, very cheap in this instance, and much cheaper than other forms of getting around, particularly in Denmark. Not too much of a sting in the tail price-wise, so I was very impressed, I must say. Because I've been without a car for like 45 days or something, it was quite an odd feeling, again, to sort of have a car and then suddenly not have it again, and I was back to being like a mere mortal and walking around. That's quite strange, actually. It's the same feeling, I guess, that I had when I did the test drive of the Model 3 here back in April, that I was, you know, in the performance model there, the dual motor performance, driving this amazing car for like half an hour and then suddenly just, you know, back on the bus in that particular case. That's always quite strange, and I guess there's something about knowing that you have unfettered access to a car, I guess, is one thing. But these car shares, if there's a greater variety of electric cars available through them, and as I say, if they're sort of dotted around a bit more evenly where people live, you know, if you could choose the kind of experience you wanted and so on, that would be very good. What I'm going to try next is this thing called GoMore here, which is like a Danish version of Turo. You know, kind of like people rent out their cars. There's a Renault Fluence nearby, which I've never driven, one of the very early electric cars. And there's some Tesla Model 3s and Tesla Model S's around, and maybe a few other things a bit further afield. But they're all quite expensive, but then as a one-off, I might give it a try. There is a Kona electric nearby, and I would like to try that, given I still haven't driven one, and it's a bit criminal, really, having had, you know, so much content about the Hyundai Ioniq Electric, the kind of older model, but different style of car. I'd like to do that. I'd like to get some stuff on the Kona, and having it for like a day or two would be, a really good way to do that. It's very hard to get in one still, very hard to get a test drive, and there's still very long waiting lists for them. So there's still kind of interest, for me anyway, in doing that and finding out what it's like, and if I can remember how it compares to the Ioniq Electric as well. Now, there was a comment on an earlier video. Someone said, because I put up this video about my plans here to sort of explore transport options afresh, really, that having come up with all these different plans, instead of choosing one of them, I'm doing all of them. And I guess there's some truth to that, because I've also been investigating this week this idea of mini-leasing. So leasing an electric car for like 1 month or 3 months as a bit of a stopgap, and allowing me to do my plan A, actually, from the video a while back, of waiting but still having an electric car, but not one that I'm kind of bound to particularly. And this is with the company called Sixt on this kind of mini-lease. They're changing their scheme, but they've made me an offer by email. And it's around about 3,800 Danish crowns a month. I'll put up the equivalents of that on the screen now. And I'm thinking about that. I've asked them whether I can just do 1 month, which particular ZOE model it is. It's a Renault ZOE with them, as you can see here on the screen. What sort of charging sort of options they provide with that. Do they have memberships? Do they have the kind of home granny cable charging with it? What exactly does it include? But I'm going to look into that, and there might be something more on that in a future video. And then finally, and yes, I have been busy, I looked at electric bikes. So in the previous video, you saw me struggling on just a normal passive electric bicycle, quite a heavy rental one that I still have, and I've been riding around still on it. It's fun within certain conditions. But I did decide that I wanted to try, for the first time ever really, an electrically assisted normal 2-wheel bicycle and an electric assisted kind of buggy that I might be able to transport my children around in. So I went to one of the nearby bike shops, and they very graciously let me try, and they were happy for me to film it with my GoPro on my head as well. I started off with the normal sort of 2-wheeler, which we can see here. This I mainly chose because it was low to the ground. I find the rental bike from the swap feets just too high. My feet are not flat on the ground, and I just, the saddle is too high and it's a bit painful, and the bike's a bit heavy, I'm finding, with that as well. So as we can kind of see and hear with me setting off on this here.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. yeah. Oh, yeah. Good Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So these sounds of mine are me realizing how much fun it is to be on this thing and how much progressive power you could apply. There were 5 levels of electric assist. You could have it completely off, and then there was eco all the way up to turbo. And as you kind of dial in the more power from the motor, on this normal kind of bike, it was really a lot of fun. And I was realizing just how much extra assist it gave you going uphill. And I was enjoying that a bit too much, and perhaps I should have thought about that would sound.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. yeah. Oh, yeah. Good Lord, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
On a video edited later on, but still, anyway. And then finally, I tried the buggy bike. And now this was very interesting, particularly from someone who's driven electric cars, because this kind of was really more like a kind of electric vehicle. I wouldn't think of this really as like a normal bike experience. So it had a throttle on it. It wasn't a kind of, natural feeling assist. It was very much a kind of throttle.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see I see, yeah, so you go much. Okay.
And when going up hills or starting off, you could just sort of boost it, basically. And you could hear the whine of the electric motor kicking in. And of course it was not very stable in corners with the kind of 3 wheels, and the people in the shop warned me multiple times to take it easy around corners, to kind of lean into the corners. I'm not sure if I could get used to that, actually, and I'm not sure I'd really want my kids in it. Again, as I've said in the previous video, it's getting into really, really pricey territory. But I'm glad I'm not making my decisions, or at least thinking about making decisions, on the basis of just abstract ideas. I've been testing all these things out. So, in 1 week I've managed to test the kind of hourly EV rentals, inquire about mini-leasing of an electric car so I don't have to put down the enormous, sort of cash burn of buying an electric car in the short term, and I can wait to see all these things that are coming out, like the MG Is that coming to left-hand drive Europe and so on? All these different things. And I've been trying the bikes, and I'm really quite taken with the electric assisted, two-wheel pedal bike. I still would like to try a recumbent, and I still would like to try a 3-wheel electric assisted recumbent somewhere, and I'd still have to try an electrically assisted velomobile. I'll get to all these things. I've been trying a lot of things. There's a lot of new things happening. But it's been fun. It's been a fun week, a very busy week, because this is all obviously outside working hours, and but luckily the days are very long and the weather's been good, so it's been a lot of fun. So this is the last time you'll see a video from this particular accommodation. This was just a temporary arrangement I had for 2 months, which has really, really helped out. I'm really grateful for it. The new place is nice, but completely unfurnished. Next time you'll see me in that different location, and I'll be continuing this kind of little adventure of trying to find a zero tailpipe transport option here, be that an electric car on a short-term basis, on a longer-term basis. We'll see. But yeah, so please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me. There's going to be a lot more different explorations and adventures coming. And thanks for watching, and bye for now.